All right, so I wanted to give a little update on my compressor repair here. And I don't really want to kill the other video because it already has some views and people are interested, but I do want to update and say that my fix did not last. So as a quick refresher, if you haven't seen the other video, basically the tube between the tank and the cylinder head failed originally, and a new tube was like 40 bucks, and I just couldn't put a $40 tube on a $200 machine. So I bought some of this HVAC 3/8 line and used a flaring tool. And even though these weren't originally flared connections, they were O-ringed connections, I don't have a tool to create the indentation for the O-ring, so I did flares. So the first pipe that I put on failed after like 3 or 4 days. Basically, the vibration was such that it broke the flare off. So then I noticed just how much this thing vibrates. And although there are rubber bushings that isolate the compressor from the tank, there's still a lot of vibration in this line. So I put in some loops to mitigate that. And instead of lasting like 3 days, it lasted like 12 days or something like that. And then the flare broke again. So my best friend is an acoustics engineer, and so he deals a lot with vibrations and things like that, and he happened to be over and he looked at it, and I can't take this off right now, but basically the piston moves in this direction. And so if you think of that there's basically 3 planes, there's the horizontal plane, well, there's this horizontal plane, and the vertical plane. When you have vibrations, they're happening in a particular direction because the movement excites in this direction. And so we talked a little bit about how to do the coils. I had one coil. So basically I had a straight pipe, then I had a coiled pipe, now I have a double coiled pipe. And the other coils were like in this direction. So now we did them in this direction. We're gonna see how much longer this lasts. This is going on about 4 days. So the other thing I did is when I made the flares, I only did a half crank every like minute to just keep heat out of that connection, because heat can make things brittle. I'm no material scientist or anything like that, so I'm not going to get into embrittlement of aluminum and all that, but I know just a little bit about it, enough to be dangerous. And so when I did the flaring, I would basically turn it half a turn and then go do something, half a turn, go do something, just to keep the heat out of it, in case by flaring it quickly, I was making it a little bit brittle. So long story short, my fix that you may have seen several weeks ago on YouTube hasn't been completely successful. I've had to tweak it, but to be honest, it's actually part of the fun in life. You learn something about vibration, acoustics, innovation, improv, and I'll just end with this. One of my best friends just out of high school was a guy from England. He grew up on the island of Sark, where there's no motor vehicles, very small island, and he had, like a screwdriver and a hammer and a strip of leather. You know what I mean? Like he did not have a toolbox full of specialized tools. And he and I used to ride dirt bikes, and he was so creative when he tried to fix things. It was like he could turn any tool into the tool he needed for the job. And I admired that so much. It was such an awesome skill set. And so I've always wanted that. I've wanted to develop that. And so, yeah, I could have swiped my credit card, spent 40 bucks and had the pipe and moved on with life. But I have a second compressor as a backup if I ever needed it, absolutely, just in a critical situation. But in the meantime, you're learning a new skill, you're experimenting, and if you find satisfaction in those sorts of things, then that's why you repair your own stuff. And if you don't, maybe you're missing out and you should try it out. So I will. If you don't see an updated video on the channel, that means this thing is still holding up. If and when it fails, I will update it, and we'll do the next iteration. So I wanted to be transparent about that, not leave the whole internet to think that thing worked flawlessly, and not to leave you discouraged if it didn't work for you. So take care, folks. See ya.